So I've been thinking a lot lately about narratives, specifically how a story gets told, who tells it, and how that shapes what we believe to be true. We see it in tech all the time, right? A company releases a product and the marketing tells one story, the early reviews tell another. And then, years later, the actual legacy of that product tells the real story. It's that long-term perspective that's always the most interesting to me. And it got me thinking about stories that are much bigger, much older, and way more consequential than just a new smartphone. I wanted to apply that same lens to a place that, for most of the world, has a narrative that's been set in stone for decades. A story of chaos, of pirates, of famine. Of course, I'm talking about Somalia. But what if I told you that the popular story, the one you think you know, is maybe just the marketing? That it's a surface-level take that misses almost all of the nuance, the history, and the incredible potential. It's like judging a phone by its spec sheet without ever actually holding it. Today we're going to go deeper. We're peeling back the layers on a story that involves a legendary hero the British Empire tried to erase, a dream of a unified nation, and a staggering amount of untapped natural wealth that could change everything. We'll look at the myths versus the reality of piracy and explore a capital city that is completely misunderstood by the outside world. This isn't the Somalia you've seen on the news. This is the story behind the story. This is the truth about the Horn of Africa. All right, so to really understand modern Somalia, you have to go back, way back, to a time before the headlines, before the Civil War, to the turn of the 20th century. This is where we meet the central character in Somalia's story of resistance, a man named Said Mohammed Abdullah Hassan. Now, if you've heard of him at all, you've probably heard the name the British gave him, the Mad Mullah. It's a classic case of branding, really, a strategic move to discredit a formidable opponent by painting him as an irrational fanatic. It's a name designed to stick, to simplify, to erase the nuance. But for Somalis, he's not the Mad Mullah. He's a national hero, a poet, and the leader of one of the longest and bloodiest anti-colonial wars in African history. For over 2 decades, he led the dervish movement against the British, the Italians, and the Ethiopians. Think about that, 20 years. This wasn't just a small rebellion. There was a full-scale war for independence, for sovereignty, and for the preservation of their way of life. He used guerrilla tactics and his powerful poetry, which spread like wildfire, to unite clans that had been rivals for centuries. He was fighting for an idea that was bigger than any single person or tribe. This is why he's so important. He wasn't just fighting against foreign powers, he was fighting for a unified Somali state, free from outside control. The British threw everything they had at him. They even used some of the first ever aerial bombardments in Africa just to stop him. The fact that they had to resort to such extreme measures tells you everything you need to know about how effective he was. He was a thorn in the side of the world's biggest empire. Calling him mad wasn't a diagnosis, it was a confession. It was an admission that they couldn't defeat his ideas or his spirit. So, that idea that the Sayyid was fighting for, it didn't die with him. It evolved into something that has shaped the entire region for the last century, the dream of Greater Somalia, or Somaliland. Let's break down what that actually means. When the colonial powers carved up Africa in the 19th century, they drew lines on a map that had nothing to do with the people who actually lived there. Ethnic Somalis, who shared a common language, culture, and religion, suddenly found themselves living in 5 different territories. Media group, vintage maps labeling British Somaliland, Italian Somaliland, French Somaliland, Ogaden, and Northern Frontier District. Archival photos of Somali communities in different colonial regions at stock at distribute_equally. British Somaliland, Italian Somaliland, French Somaliland, now Djibouti, the Ogaden region of Ethiopia, and the Northern Frontier District of Kenya. The vision of Greater Somalia was simple but powerful, to reunite all these Somali-inhabited lands into a single independent nation. It's a dream of national unity, of bringing a scattered family back together under one roof. When Somalia gained independence in 1960, the new nation's flag was designed with this dream in mind. It features a five-pointed Star of Unity, with each point representing one of those five historical Somali territories. It's not just a flag, it's a statement of intent. It's a constant reminder of what was lost, and what for many is still the ultimate goal. But here's where it gets complicated. This dream is, to put it mildly, controversial. For Somalia, it's a matter of national identity and historical justice. But for its neighbors, Kenya and Ethiopia, it's seen as a direct threat to their own sovereignty and territorial integrity. This has been the source of multiple wars and decades of tension in the Horn of Africa. It's a powerful, emotional, and deeply political issue that explains so much about the region's instability. It's a dream that has inspired millions but has also fueled conflict, and it remains one of the most sensitive topics in East African politics today. Now let's pivot from history to geology. Because underneath all of this political turmoil and historical grievance lies something else entirely, something that most people have absolutely no idea about: Somalia's staggering, and I mean untapped, natural wealth. For decades, the narrative has been about poverty and aid, but the reality on the ground, or rather the ground, tells a completely different story. We're talking about massive, world-class reserves of oil and natural gas, both on and offshore. Geological surveys, some dating back decades, and others more recent, suggest that Somalia could be sitting on over 100 billion barrels of oil.